What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of CombatFC Podcast. My name is Marian, and today my co-host Rick, he's going to dive into. Well, first we're gonna have a couple interviews with a couple of the fighters on the fights coming up on. Remind me again with the date, February
10th. February
10th, not 7th. So it'll be an exciting one because we'll have the title opponents tonight, depending. There you go. Rico is actually right about to jump into the show. So, Rick, do you want to mention anything before we let Rico in?
No, let's go for it. Let's pull Rico right in, and yeah, we're going to interview Rico DiSciullo, and later after Rico, we're going to interview his opponent Gregoriou, and yeah, we're going to talk about the title fight that they have coming up on February 10th, and yeah, we will we'll see what they have to say, and hopefully training's going well for both. So can you hear us there, Rico? No, we'll see if
I need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, we'll give him a second. It looks like he's still connecting. So yeah, it's we talked about the title fight on last week's episode. We introduced it a little bit, so we'll get the perspective of the two athletes competing for our first ever pro title. And there he is. We can't hear you at all, Rico.
Can you hear us? You might just need to connect to the audio. And then now you're just on mute. If you unmute yourself, you're going to be able to.
Okay, you guys can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes, sir, we got you.
Woo!
What's going on, brother?
Look at you, sweat dripping off your face.
What up? Putting in that work, baby.
That's what's up. Welcome to the show, man. How you been? What? So 8:45 p.m. You still grinding it out? Where are you training now?
Right now I'm at my boxing gym, Eddie Alvarez Family Boxing over in Salem, Mass. It's nice because it's like 5 minutes from my house. So, with the traveling I do from gym to gym, God forbid I can't make it because of traffic, I can always get over here, get like a really good workout in. So it's fantastic.
Nice. Yeah. So again, welcome to the show. We'll dive right into. So Rick is gonna go over some questions regarding the fight and your opponent and things like that. For people that may not have met you before or may not know your story, give us a little bit of a backstory of how did you get into MMA and what this fight means to you.
All right. Well. Rewind to like 2007 or something. I don't know. But so growing up, I did karate, whatnot, and I did every sport there was pretty much, you know what I mean? But then out of high school, I moved close to my work, and I moved to Somerville. And so I was living over there and happened to go for a run and ran into Sit Your Tongue. And then from there, I literally walked into the gym, saw everybody training. This was back in like 2007 or 8. So they had like the beginning. They had a really, really, really good crew of professionals at the beginning of, when MMA was really starting to take off,
Mm-hmm.
So great place to walk into. And I just seen everybody hitting the bags and whatnot. I was just like, damn, man, this is like, I was just loving it. And it was weird because I played lacrosse in high school. I was going to play in college. I wasn't really sure because I have a family business that I was going to get into. So I wasn't really like 100% sure on what I was going to do. And I ended up like moving, like I said, close to work and running to Sit. And it was, from there off, I was just like obsessed,
That's what's up. I don't know if you remember, we sparred a couple months ago. It was right before one of your fights, if I'm not wrong, right at, it was at Cedar Tongue at one of the 7 p.m. on Mondays. I can't remember exactly. I think it was summer. You were getting ready for one of your fights with CombatFC. I can't remember exactly when, but I remember that's how I met you at SIT.
Oh shit! I didn't even know. I mean, obviously, we go through a million people. There's,
Yeah. We only met once. But which part was that was legit. All right, so let's dive into what this fight means to you now.
I mean, at this stage of my career, dude, I just got a chip on my shoulder, man. I've been grinding it out for a long, long time, and it's really important because it's a big fight at a big stage, for a world title, CombatFC with a big platform and big name, So like realistically, I do this for myself. You know what I mean? I'm doing this because I do it for my soul, man. This is like a part of my life. Martial arts is a lifestyle for me right now. I can't see myself like leaving the sport ever, like really like leaving it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm in great shape, dude. I love the fight. I love the strap. I just love everything about MMA. So it's like, I'm just gonna keep grinding and just keep on grinding, trying to improve every day and see where it takes me. But this fight means a lot, man, because, I feel like whether I've gotten looked over or just had bad luck with certain things, like with that contender fight, I had a couple low blows. It was just a real frustrating fight and I didn't get the win. And, I thought that was a big opportunity for me. And then COVID happened. So now I'm sidelined for 2-3 years almost because there was nothing to do. You couldn't even walk in a gym up here. It was really difficult up here. Luckily, I had a couple of friends I could train in between a little bit. Then I tore my knee, my meniscus. So it was like a big setback, So I had that surgery, thanks to Dr. Dave Wortman, a guy I actually trained with years ago. He came into DiSciullo and he trained for a couple of years. He got all the way up to an amateur title fight, won that fight, and ended up having to use him in the future, like to help me with my knee. And it was great because like he really understood like the training, what I go through. So he was like, gave me a realistic, like, listen, you have to get this surgery, otherwise your ACL is in danger, your MCL, you could really blow out your whole knee. And he's like, it's going to suck because you have a complete bucket tear, but I promise you, I'll do everything I can to, put those anchors in to a point where you'll be back 100%. And if you heal right, you will be back 100%. And he was right, man. That surgery was the best thing I did. It's never had a problem. You know what I mean? It's really like, I didn't realize how bad it really was for a long time,
And how long it took you for the recovery phase?
That recovery wasn't too bad. I want to say like to completely like really, really, really heal from it, like 4 or 5 months.
Oh, so it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad, but he had to put like, usually with that surgery, when you have a bucket tear, they usually put like 2 or 3 anchors in your knee. He had to put like 6 in my knee. It was like, it was really torn. And I call him up. I'm calling the office. I'm like, man, dude, these, I'm done out of pain meds. I'm like, what's going on? I'm freaking dying out. He's like, yeah, I didn't want to. I thought you'd kill me. I had to put 8 anchors in your knee. He's like, I use your knee as an example in a lot of places because I put anchors in your knee where people, doctors don't usually do that, but it healed good. And it just showed that like, the resilience of people's bodies. Like I feel like 100%, you know what I mean? My knee's never been better. So it's like, I don't even think about it anymore.
Glad to hear that, man. That's legit. Rick, you want to dive into fight coming up and everything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So I assume like most guys in 2023 with the internet access and the Google machine out there, I assume you've had a chance to look at your opponent and check out some of his past fights. So what'd you think of him so far? And what are you seeing in his previous fights that you think you can exploit here?
Yeah, man, tough kid, likes to throw, you know what I mean? Realistically, I don't ever really pay too much. I don't get too deep into stuff unless somebody has like a specific style that I really gotta, game plan like 100% for, you know what I'm saying? I feel like we both have a similar style in where we like to strike a lot, I feel like this fight's going to be a little bit of everything though. It's an MMA fight. It's 5 rounds. It's going to be a war. I'm preparing for that. So it's like, I don't really like going into fights with too much of a game plan because, you got to be able to adapt instantly, so I just do my best at working on everything I can and being prepared for wherever the fight goes. And, I'm excited, man, because, this kid's tough, dude. And he likes to fucking throw. So it's going to be a good one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One thing that I noticed that kind of, that made me interested in him as a fighter is I watched some of his videos and I mean, the kid can fucking crack.
Yeah.
Like it's, there's definitely some guys that you see that, are exciting fighters that, that have really wild styles or that are just brawlers and then there's other guys that like, it's like, okay, this like, he can shut guys out, he can shut guys down with, with 1 or 2 shots here. So that was something that I think that always makes for an interesting challenge when you've got a guy that, hits hard, right? So that
biggest thing is you gotta land it though, right?
Of course.
I mean, everybody can throw hard. You gotta be able to land that shit though. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah. So yeah, and he's been working hard. I've seen some, obviously you're working hard too. You're sweating your ass off during your interview here, but I've seen videos on both sides. It's probably interesting for us because where I'm following both of you on social media, I'll see your Instagram story will pop up and it's you doing work, and then his will pop up, and I feel like I'm watching one of those like Rocky and Drago montages of this guy doing this thing, this guy doing that thing, and
neither of us are taking this lightly. We understand it's a huge fight for us. You know what I mean? Especially like where he is in his career. He's got a little bit less experience, but if he beats me, for a title, that's a huge step up in his career. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm coming off of 2 wins, but every fight's the biggest fight. It doesn't matter. Even if it's for a title or not, every fight is the biggest fight of your life going forward. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take anything lightly. You don't know what's going to happen, man. Walk out of this gym and fucking get hit by a car and never be able to fight again. You got to take advantage of your opportunities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So just changing gears a little bit, you fought on our June show. You headlined our first event back, the first Combat FC event ever. Were you surprised at how well that went? In meaning your fight, not the event. Were you surprised that it felt like a really clean performance to me? I'm sure there were mistakes that you could take away from it, like I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that, but I mean, you outside of hurting your hand, I don't think there was a mark on you.
No, I mean, I did a really good job at controlling distance. Like, I honestly think he might have touched me once and it didn't even faze me until I saw it afterwards. You know what I mean? Until I watched the fight back and I was like, oh, he did hit me, whatever. But he moved very different too. Like, he was interesting, because he was short to begin with, but he came in really aggressive and really bobbing and weaving and going for that big strike. So I had to be smart about when I was, putting those combos together that I was trying to finish, or just even landing, because, you make a mistake, the way he was swinging, the fight can change real quick. And I know he was looking to land that big blow and capitalize as soon as possible. So, I was at the things I worked on in the gym translated very well, moving with my hands up, hitting angles, being a little unorthodox, trying to, just make them think a lot, just doing things that, can put him in a position where I can get the better hand of the situation and the exchanges and finish the fight.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned to you after the fight, we were chatting about it a little bit in the locker room, and I was glad it got stopped when it did. When it's like that cut was pretty bad, and it looked like right before that you kind of had his timing figured out, and it looked like you were slipping everything that he was throwing at you, and everything you were throwing at him was starting to land. So. Yeah.
Right after I landed that knee, that clinch, and it was real bad knee because I had him in a tie lock. Like, I had him in wasn't exactly a tie plum. It was like I had him locked up. So like there was no movement in his head. He came down into that knee, and I felt it, and I knew it bad. And when it popped up, I was like, damn, dude, that could, it just was wide open. So if that fight, and like you said, I figured out his pattern. He had a very similar pattern, and his coaches kept calling out Tyson. I knew what they were doing. They want him to bob big low underneath and come up with that big, 3-2 and land some, but I figured it out by then. I was, ducking under a couple punches, hitting angles, and it was like, all right, it would have got real bloody, real messy. And it was definitely about to get finished in the next 2 minutes. And it would have been rough. You know what I mean? Realistically, like, he's the one that stopped that fight, because after that knee, he kneed me in the nuts, and he actually called the ref over. So he hit me with a low blow and called the ref over, which, he didn't necessarily have to do that. I wasn't necessarily going to stop it because I was in a good position, but, I think he did that because he realized, it was going downhill.
Yeah, I realized his cheek was going to fall off. Yeah. So that was in
the back. It was gnarly. He was a really good dude, really crap. And I saw it in the back. That was no little cut. That was a serious cut,
Yeah. For people who didn't see it, it was actually under the eye, but it was, it opened up.
And that came from the knee?
From the knee.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it was as wide as your thumb. It was, he was back there getting stitched up for a while. So I was glad they were able to take care of him at the venue and not make him go sit in a hospital room for a while. But yeah, that was. Anytime I see cuts like that, it's like, oh, let's get out of here. Let's stop this one. I don't, not looking to see guys get plastic surgery or anything. So yeah, I'm excited about this fight coming up. It looks like you're working your ass off. I know you said you got sick around the holidays, so everything back to normal.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm back at it, grinding. To be honest, I'm kind of glad it happened now. So like years ago, I used to get sinus infections before every single fight. I had to get my moved. So I fought for Bellator years back, and like 4 weeks before my fight, I had to get my tonsils removed. And what happened was they stitched it up, and my son was a baby at the time, and I went to like move him in the tub. He slipped. You're not really supposed to pick anything up, but he like slipped in the tub. I had to grab him, and I lift him up. My tonsils, like the sutures ruptured. So I was bleeding like through into my lungs. All that blood was going into my lungs. And I had no idea. My mom's like, "You're bleeding in your mouth. You got to go to the hospital right now." I was like, "I'm fine." We get there. All of a sudden I can't talk. So
Jesus.
It like hardened. It like coagulated. And all of a sudden I started getting woozy, and I'm like about to faint. And the doctor's asking me what's wrong. I had to write to the doctor on a like paper, "What's wrong with me?" And he like just runs in the next door room, comes out with like 5-10 doctors, and he's just jamming something down my throat.
Oh, Jesus.
My poor mother walks in the door, and I throw up blood everywhere. It was like
Jesus.
And but I had a fight like 4 weeks after. So it was like I was in the hospital for 3 or 4 days. I lost a lot of weight because I couldn't really eat much. I was dying on like crazy pain meds. It was absolutely awful. And I was like wondering if I'm going to cancel the fight. Like, how am I going to do this? But yeah, they ended up cauterizing my throat. So they burnt it down to like to nothing, dude. Like, wouldn't bleed. It was the most painful thing I've ever gone through in my life. But I remember walking into the gym the first day back, and I see Rob fought. And they're like, "Oh yeah," like I'm looking at him. He's like, "You still gonna fight?" And he's looking at me like I'm a ghost. So I'm like, "Yeah, I lost weight." And he's looking at me like, "Dude, you look horrible." But he didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
Looking at me like, I'll never forget the look on his face. I'm like looking at me like, "Yo, bro, you shouldn't be fighting."
Yeah.
But a couple of weeks went, and I got better and fought, got the W, and on to the next.
Damn, man. What a story.
Like every camp, dude, I've been through shit like that. So I always get sinus infections and things like that. So now that I don't have my tonsils anymore, I don't really get sick as much. That's why I'm kind of happy it like happened now. So it's not, you know what I mean? So
like
now
it's not like right before the event.
Yeah, that's the worst. I fought on the Contender with a sinus infection, dude, on antibiotics. It was the worst.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do that.
Yeah, hopefully the worst is over and you're healthy the rest of the camp. So what's the longest fight you had? I should have checked that before we came on, but obviously this one being 5 rounds. Any concerns about going 5?
No, I've gone 3 a bunch of times. I'm in better shape now than I ever been. I've had a lot of experience doing a little bit of everything, So I've had experience with quick fights. I've had experience going the distance. I've had experience going the distance down points. After by mistake, I threw an illegal knee, ended up getting a point deduction from a kid that, pretty solid kid that ended up going to the UFC, Jordan Espinosa. I came back, won that fight. You know what I mean? So I've had some good experience with long fights.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. And, I don't want to get too far ahead of this one, but if things go well on February 10th, what do you think in the rest of the year? How active are you looking to be in 2023?
I mean, I'm just going to keep grinding away, see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like to look past any one fight. I'm going to win this, work my ass off, try to win this fight, and then we go from there. I really don't like to get too ahead of myself, but I'm not overlooking this at all. I'm really just one day at a time, grinding as hard as I can, and hopefully it all plays out for the 10th,
Are you planning to bring out any sponsors for this fight, like for yourself?
What's that?
Are you planning to bring like any sponsors? Like you're trying to
Oh,
get sponsors for them?
Yeah, for sure. I usually do that like right about now. So I'll start looking towards, going on social media and trying to get some sponsors and stuff. But
What kind of companies you worked with before? What type of industries?
really, realistically, anybody that likes the sport and is willing to back me, that usually what happens is I usually get a lot of local businesses, people that know me, so like this way, I can personally shout them out and get them business like through people that I know, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I realistically, it's a grind, man. And you gotta, I got a family, I got 2 kids, so it's like the sponsorship helps out more than people know. You gotta especially when you're at this level, when you're right on that cusp of getting some opportunities, I do extra, I pay a couple bucks to get extra bad work in here. I do a couple things that come out of my pocket. And I don't think people understand that, it's pretty much for a love of the sport and how much I want to win, you know what I'm saying? So I'll do whatever I got to do. And that sponsorship does come into big because that will help cover costs of, like I said, privates I get or extra training I get, or bringing somebody in to help me out with a specific style. I'll go somewhere working with my buddy Tateki Matsuda or James Martin lately. I'm gonna start working with him more, start getting guys that are around that have a similar style or around the same size, or somebody that I can just work specific drilling with that is really good for me. So I'll pull in guys and try to toss them a couple bucks if I can through sponsorship, or just help them out with something. You know what I'm saying? But the sponsorship is big.
Yeah, and I will make sure to link up your socials in the description below. But if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to contact you? Is it IG? Where do you prefer people?
Yeah, Instagram or Facebook. It's Rico DiSciullo, real easy to find. You know what I'm saying? And you'll see a picture of me, so you won't get confused. But yeah, man, whatever. I appreciate the help a lot. Every little bit counts, man. Like I said, but yeah, man, I'm grinding, doing everything I can to ensure that I get that W, and then just on, that's it.
100%. Yeah, we'll make sure to put all your socials in the description below for people who wanted to reach out to you. If it's one message maybe that you want to leave the audience with, what would that be?
One message: don't stop.
Don't stop.
Keep going. Don't stop, man. Don't listen to nobody. Do you? No matter what, I got a lot of people been telling me, oh, you're getting old, this, that, whatever, blah, blah. I feel better than I've ever have. I'm fucking stronger than I've ever been. People don't know nothing. People will talk nonsense because of their insecurities, man. Just keep grinding, do you, and do what you love, man. This is for my soul. I do this for myself. I do this. Obviously, I appreciate the people that help me out, like my coaches, like Eddie Alvarez, John Clark, Mark DeLagrati. Those guys have helped me out through the years and guided me for years. Without them, I couldn't really do much, but this is for me, this is for my soul, this is my therapy, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna keep grinding till I fucking can't do it no more. And I'm a long ways from that, I really am a long ways. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna keep on grinding, and that's it.
Love it, brother. Respect.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Rico.
All right, have a good one.
Take care. Bye. That was a good one.
Yeah.
He's always fun. Yeah, he's always fun to chat with.
Yeah. He's always an interesting chat, and he's he's always got some sort of story about he's had some crazy injuries over the years, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is just how many fighters deal with crazy shit like that, right? I mean, he said he fought on Contender Series with a sinus infection, on antibiotics, so his one shot,
Contender Series was actually already messed up.
Yeah, and it's crazy how many people, and it makes me wonder, if you look at how many good fighters have been on Contender Series or have gotten a shot in the UFC and just, were dealing with something that day, so they were, 80% of what they normally are. I just wonder how many guys would have had a drastically different career path if not for a sinus infection.
100%, and I feel like
crazy.
A lot of people don't even understand, even a simple cold can put you on the side for a couple of days, and that can be that can be a huge fuck up for, you lose a couple pounds, or you're not at your 100% to go and train and all that, especially if it happens like right before the event.
Right.
Before
And you
the
never know
fight.
who you're going to get on Contender Series either, right? Like
That's
there's
another
so
thing,
many
yeah.
there's so many guys on Contender Series that went into the UFC and didn't do well, or didn't actually get a contract even after a win, but he happened to fight a guy that has turned into a really good UFC fighter. So it's just interesting how many people's career paths are, he fought Montel Jackson with a sinus infection, and that was what his shot on Contender Series was. And so I think when he talks about having a chip on his shoulder, I think he's been around long enough, and he's trained with a lot of guys, and cross trained with some guys at other gyms, and there's a lot of guys that have gone to the UFC at 135 or even 145 in the area. He's probably spent some time in the cage with all of them. He's probably sparred with all of them, and I think he's kind of got that chip on his shoulder of like why not me? I'm putting in the work. I'm spar. I know how I do when I spar these guys or when I spar those guys, and he's got you think his record's 12-2, so he's
a hell of a record.
And it's crazy with shortly after his Contender Series fight, you're dealing with the injuries and you're dealing with COVID, and then it's just crazy how
and then the surgery for 6 months,
he's dealt with some some unlucky circumstances, that's for sure. So we'll see if
but I love he's positive all the time. Like I remember even at Sidatong, he's always like pumped up and ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see. Hopefully this is the
how long it took you to put this fight together?
It's tough to say, really. This was just one that I was looking for opponents for Rico, and then he's always a tough one, because when you see the record of again, I can't remember if it's 11-2 or 12-2. I think it's 12-2. I believe he came into the June fight 11-2. When you see a record like that, and I send him to if I give his name to another manager or something like that, like, hey, do you got anybody for this guy? The only names that they give you are like they're 10-0, world champion jiu-jitsu guy who's they're expecting to get on to Contender Series, something like that. So that's always been kind of the interesting thing there is anytime we try to match certain guys, it gets to be a little more challenging. And this one, I'm not sure if Pampos can hear us or not, but this one happened, this one happened kind of quickly. I was like, right as I started trying to look for opponents for Rico, I can't remember if Pampos reached out to me directly, or if that was something that came through. I know I had talked to Jason Franklin. I can't remember exactly how the introduction was made, but the fight came together pretty quick. We offered the fight, and I think it was, I don't know, I think it was a day. He checked with his coaches, and we were on. So it came together pretty quickly, and I think both guys accepted pretty quick, and thanks for joining us. We just wrapped up with your opponent a few minutes ago, and
we just chatted with Rico just a couple of moments ago. So
thank you, guys.
Welcome to the show, man. So we got, ladies and gentlemen, Charalampos Gregoriou. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, brother? Yes.
Awesome. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Cyprus. Yeah.
Cyprus. I'm originally from Europe, from Romania, so we're not too far. Not too far away from each other. All right. So for people that don't know you, maybe they're not aware of who you are as a person, as a fighter, give us a little bit of a story. How did you get into MMA? And then we'll dive into your fight coming up.
So actually, I started martial arts when I was 6. And then I had a break in between after some years. And then I had street fights all the time. So my father was like, you have to stop, because we had the police coming over every week, So I said to him, okay, I have to start martial arts, So I started martial arts. I started Muay Thai, kickboxing, and then MMA. So
This was all back in Cyprus, right?
Yeah, back in Cyprus, I was kickboxing champion, MMA champion. I was the number 3 in Europe in kickboxing. So, and I couldn't find an opponent, and I'm like, okay, I have to go to US for the UFC, and this is the reason that I came.
Gotcha. And when did you come to US for the first time?
It was March 2017.
Oh, so just about 5-6 years ago.
6 years ago,
6 years
yeah.
ago. Yeah. That's what's up. All right. So let's dive a little bit into the fight coming up. How do you feel? I know it's a title fight. How do you feel about it? Do you have anything that you want to share with the audience in terms of maybe preparation for the fight, your opponent, things like that?
Look, I'm very cool with the fight. I don't have anything to worry about. So I train really hard. I train with the best, fighters in the world. So my opponent doesn't have anything that I never seen before. You know what I mean? So I think
What do you train now?
In low MMA.
Okay.
Low MMA and at Matsera for jiu-jitsu. So yes, I train there with the best guys, man. Aljam Sterling, Merab. I train with all the beasts, man. So so I'm not worried about anything because I know I'm better than him in everything, striking, wrestling, grappling, power, speed, everything. So, and I'm gonna show that on February 10th. It's gonna be a long night for him, man. Actually, a short night, if you know what I mean.
What do you feel if you were be to pick, and I know you said you got them all kind of combined, wrestling, grappling, striking, every Muay Thai. But what if you would be to pick one, what do you feel like it's your number one strength?
Man, everybody knows that I'm a striker, but when you train in this gym that I'm training right now, you have no choice. You have to be one of the best wrestlers. You have to be one of the best grapplers because you cannot survive there, man. You cannot survive to go to spar with, for example, Merab. He's an animal, non-stop wrestling all the time, man. You have no choice. So, so yes, I built my wrestling very well. My grappling, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. But yes, man, it's he doesn't have anything, So
yeah, I mean, it'd be tough to find a better sparring partner than the current world champion in your weight class, right? So
yeah, man. And I know what it means to be in a very bad position, man. I've been there before, and I know. So I swim in the deep waters with them. So
yeah, and it's funny. I just pulled it up on my phone. I wanted to make sure to look at the current rankings. Two of the guys at your gym. One obviously is Aljamain Sterling, who's the champion of the world, but Merab's currently ranked 3rd in the world. So it's you've got two of the top 5 fighters in your weight class.
Yep.
I've seen your Instagram posts of you and Merab, so it's obvious you're getting working with these guys. So yeah, you definitely you can't get better work than that, right? So have you had a chance much to watch much video on Rico and check out any of his past fights and things like that?
Actually, I did. I watched his last fight. Yes, I watched his last fight. He's good. I have respect for him. We are both of us. We are athletes. We have respect each other. But I'm going for the belt, though. I don't care. And I know I think he's taller than me. I don't know if he can use his reach, but I'm gonna show him different different things, man. I'm gonna show him striking, wrestling, grappling. I'm gonna show him everything, man. And let's see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait, man.
Have you been training at the same gym since you came here in 2017?
Actually, it's look, when I came in US, I was in a gym in Astoria. So and then I fought in Madison Square Garden for Glory Kickboxing, and then Ray Longo was there, my coach now. So and I remember he wanted me to go to the gym to spar with Aljamain because he knew I'm a striker and he has a fight coming up with a striker. So it was the first time that I went there for sparring with Aljamain. And then I went there, I liked it, and then I bought a car because when I came in US, it was very hard, for me. And then I got a car, and so now I'm there like 3 years.
That's what's
Yeah. So yeah, I got lucky.
So I've got a completely oddball question for you. How the fuck do you get 30,000 Instagram followers without having like massive TV fights? How on earth do you get so many Instagram followers?
Man, I have so much support from my country, from Cyprus and Greece. Man, in Cyprus, I'm like a little popular, but because I've been on TV in Cyprus, I've been for podcasts everywhere, every time I go to Cyprus. So I have support from there. I have all the Greek community in New York, like they supporting me. And
New York has a big Greek community. Yeah, that I know.
Yeah, especially in Astoria, in Queens. Yeah.
What is
so
it?
this, sorry.
Go ahead.
So this is what we try to bring in Boston. We're gonna bring the Greek wave.
What do you feel it's one thing that maybe people that get to know you now, outside of the cage, that may have no idea that you actually like some of the hobbies or maybe some of the stories that you've been through maybe since you became an MMA fighter?
I think the funny story is when I came in US, actually before I came to US and how I came in US, it was I remember now I was I had a relationship with my wife now. It wasn't a relationship. It was like and she used to study here. So I was in Cyprus, and the funny thing is I used to work as a nurse in Cyprus. I studied nursing.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife was like, why you don't come to US to do what you love and whatever. So anyway, so I booked my tickets, I got my visa, I got everything. And then I announced it to my parents because I knew that they're gonna be, stay here, don't go there, blah, blah, blah. But it was after a week I was leaving, So I'm like, no, I'm leaving. And so yes, I came in US, man. It was so fast, man. I'm like, and I still have my mom was like, oh, come back. I'm like, no. So this is for me a funny story, man, because to leave everything behind, like I left my job, my friends, my family, everything, man, to come here to chase my dream. I think this is the I think
it's the pure definition of following your dreams, right? Like you were in your home country, having a stable job, things like that, like family, friends. I know it's hard to leave everything behind and then just move literally on the other side of the globe and then start from scratch, start from zero, maybe you probably had to get some jobs here to be able to make ends meet, and pay for training and then go from
Yeah,
there.
this is how I'm trying to inspire people, not from my country, from every country that they wanna change their dreams. I'm like, man, I did that. You can do the same thing,
100%, man.
So
No,
yeah, so now nothing can stop me, man. Nothing can stop me from this fight, man. That's why I came here for this reason, and I'm gonna do it well.
love it, man. No, it's definitely an inspiration for a lot of people listening and watching. What do you feel like if you want to leave before pass it to Rick again? What do you feel is one message you want to maybe leave the audience with? I know you're big into inspiring people from any part of the world. They want to follow their dreams and make things happen. What is maybe one thing of that you want to tell people that are just getting to know you for the first time?
Look,
Maybe
first
one
of all,
message or quote, whatever.
first of all, don't miss my fight, okay? First of all, don't miss my fight. Because the people that they know me, they know that I bring the fire, man, in the cage. Most of my wins are knockouts, so don't miss my fight, please.
That's what's up.
So a question that I had for you. So you said you came here about 6 years ago and you kind of left everything behind and decided to come chase your dream. How old were you when you decided to do that? How old were you when you came to the U.S.?
24.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm 30 now.
Yeah. Seems like it worked out. I've seen your Instagram posts and looks like you signed with a new management company this week. And
Yeah.
saw you posting about your. It looks like your wedding was about 6 months ago, right? Or is that?
Exactly.
Congratulations. I saw the
Congrats.
post. So looks like things are
Thank you.
working out and you're happy. So
Yeah, man, everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. And after I got this belt, it's gonna be much better.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Do you have any? Are you trying to, like, going into the fight? You trying to attract any sponsors for yourself going into the fight? You want to shout anybody
Yes,
out?
we always are looking for sponsors. Uh, uh, thank God I have sponsors, and yes, even the a small help is very good for me, man. Because during the fight camp, you have all these expenses. Go to the PT, go for your training, go there, go your diet, everything, the supplements. It's very expensive, man.
And then if people want to reach out to you, we'll make sure to put all the links and all your socials in the description below. But where is your favorite place for people to contact? Is it Instagram, Facebook, your website? Instagram.
Yeah.
All right, we'll make sure to link that up. Rick, anything else you want to add?
No, that's all I've got. I'm really excited for this fight. I appreciate you jumping on the card with us and making the trip out to Massachusetts.
Of course, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome time. And good luck in the fight. Good luck with the rest of training camp.
Thank you, guys.
100%, man. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Take care.
Take care, brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That was fun too.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he fought for glory. That's huge.
Yeah, he's a big time striker. So that's what I mentioned to I didn't mention glory specifically to Rico, but I've seen some of his fights and and he's dropping.
I want
guys
to check it out. I want to check it out now. Like,
so
glory
he can crack. And it's always good when we have two likable guys. That's something that,
and it's both mutual respect, right? Both spoke like highly of each other, and they said they respect for each other. So I like that.
Yeah, I think they probably have similar attitudes going towards the fight, but I think one guy is probably a little bit more. Obviously, with Pompos, he was talking a little more shit and being a little more bravado there. But you can tell that both guys are respecting the skill of their opponent and just thinking that their skills are better. So
and for some reason I don't see this fight going to the ground too much.
Yeah, that's the thing. You never know.
I can't wait to watch it now.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, and that's you definitely see the difference in their approach to training camps too, right? I mean, you've got Rico, who's got kind of a handful of gyms, and he's probably, I'm used to like I'm in the technology space, so I'm looking at it from that, like, like Rico's kind of acting as his own project manager, right? Like he's the guy that's deciding where he's going to work out, and like he's designing his own training camp, right? Like he's figuring out, okay, I'm going to do boxing this day, I'm going to do strength and conditioning this day, I'm going to, and he's kind of choosing his sparring partners and who's going to, kind of give him the work that he thinks he needs. And he shouted out a couple boxers who are going to be working with him. And on the other side of the spectrum, Gregoriou is, he's at, I think Law MMA stands for Longo and Weidman. So, Ray Longo and Chris Weidman out in New York, that's, one of the best gyms in the country.
Yeah.
If you're especially if you're talking about this weight class at bantamweight, it's got to be viewed as the best gym in the world, right? Because they've got the champion, they've got the number 1 guy, and then they've got the number 3 ranked guy. So it's, they're the only gym in the world with 2 guys in the top 5 in this weight class.
Yeah.
So and there's some other good talent at the gym too. There's some other guys that, some other guys in 125, 145. So there's definitely a different approach that the 2 guys are taking with looks like
with their training
camps.
camps.
Yeah, Gregoriou's kind of focused on, this is the gym I'm going to be with, and I'm going to train with this group of guys. And in Rico's, we've seen both ways work, right? We've seen some guys come out of big gyms and do big things, and we've seen some other guys, kind of be be the main focus of the training camp, right? Instead of being one of the many guys in the room, right? Because that's the other side of it, right? Is if you're Gregoriou and you've got the champion of your division and UFC champion, and then you've also got the UFC ranked, number 3 guy,
it's going to be hard to stand out more.
Right. And are you getting the one-on-one time that you would normally get? I've seen, that's something like Tyson Chartier and his team. Like he's got a very small team, and his guys get a ton of his specific
One-on-one
attention, and kind of a smaller room of guys. And, so there's definitely, we see it going both ways, right? We see guys that are choosing to be the center of their training camp. And we're seeing that work out well. And I think that's what Henry Cejudo is trying to do now down in Arizona. He's building training camps around specific athletes for specific fights. And we still see that approach of just being with a big gym with lots of killers in the room, and, and being one of the many guys that's going through a training camp. So yeah, it's always cool when you see guys taking 2 wildly different approaches, but still having really good success. And I mean, this is gonna be a fun one. And it's all, I said, it's always cool when both guys are likable. It's
100%. Yeah.
It's fun when you have a villain too, but it's cool when you've got 2 guys who are gonna have a lot of supporters, and it's one of those fights where like you wish both guys could win. I'd be happy for either one of these guys, because they're both such good guys, and they're both chasing their dream, and you can tell it's important to both guys.
100%. I mean, it's a title fight, so I can see both.
Yeah,
both
I mean, you see some guys you see some guys taking title fights just because it was offered, right? And they're not necessarily like, a title isn't important to them. You can tell that it's important to both of these guys. Both of these guys are
100%.
Yeah, they both want to be champions. So it's, and they're both looking to use this to propel them to bigger things. Like, this isn't the top of the mountain for them. They're looking to, to win the belt, and then, take bigger fights after that, and ultimately get to that next level. So and you couldn't draw it up any better than that. These are the types of title fights that we're looking for. And
how did you find Pampos? Were you in touch with the gym before? Have any of their fighters fought?
It's funny. It's funny how it works. Like, I get lucky so often that it's bananas. Like I'll just, I'll be trying to find a particular fight, and then out of nowhere, like, a really good option just kind of falls in my lap. and it'll be someone that I know that Pompos was trying to get some fights, and I believe I heard it from Jason Franklin. I think that's who made the
Okay.
introduction. And Jason's a guy that used to match fights out in Western Mass, and he's got a couple guys fighting on this show, and he's a guy I talk to a lot. He's one of the knowledgeable guys that he definitely shoots me straight. So if I'm asking him for an opinion on an opponent, or I've been trying to get in touch with more and more guys from New York and New Jersey, because I don't want to just be looking at guys in New England. There's a lot of killers, an hour outside of our little bubble, right? So if we go just outside of Western Mass, and maybe just a little bit south of Connecticut, we can find some really, really good fighters. And he's, Jason's a guy that I've asked, hey, do you know of anybody that would be a good fight for this guy, or do you know of anyone that that kind of meets this description, right? And he just one night he just messaged me and said, hey, this guy just reached out, I don't know if you have anything. And I looked at it and I was like,
And that worked out pretty good.
it's like, this guy's fucking perfect. Like, this is exactly what we're looking for. This is the type of guy that would make for a really good title fight with Rico. So I mean, it was that's kind of my approach to matchmaking, oddly enough, is I put a lot of feelers out, and I try to get in touch with, I've got a gigantic list of people who have said, yeah, I'm available for February. And they're not, the guys aren't necessarily saying I'm committing to CombatFC, right? And, but they're, I talk to a lot of people who are saying, yeah, let me know if you find an opponent for me, let's talk. And, that date, that date works for me. Let me know if you have anything. And then I talk to a lot of people, and then all of a sudden, magically, good fights appear. And it's just happened, kind of show after show, where, I end up just asking around a lot, talking to a bunch of people, and then I trip and fall into great fights, and
what can people expect for the next couple weeks right before the episode? Do we have any other interviews lined up yet?
Yeah, we're going to be lining up a bunch, and it's tough with this one because I don't even really know where to start, because we've booked so many big fights. I actually announced one today on Instagram. We just announced John Piersma in Senate Armudi, and Armudi's a guy that nobody really wants to fight, and I've mentioned that on prior podcasts, and he's a 6'4" jiu-jitsu black belt, right? Like he's not an easy fight. He's not a guy that's easy to hit in the stand-up, because he's really long. He uses his reach pretty well, and he throws he's good with the traditional Muay Thai stuff, like the teeps, and also he throws some kind of spinning back kicks to the body to create distance, and he's just an awkward guy to fight. It's almost like, did you play those old Street Fighter games years ago? Right? Like it's almost it's almost like you're fighting Dalsim, right? Like it's like the the guy that's hitting you from across the cage. Like he's so, and that was something that you could see in his first fight with us against Sage Philippe, where Sage is a tough guy. Sage is really good, and he was the reach was awkward, and you could see that it was he's a difficult puzzle to solve, right? And it's not that he's really beating guys up in the stand-up, but he's a guy that's tough to put hands on.
Get to. Yeah.
He's a guy that he scores points on the outside, he moves a little, and he frustrates guys. And if you take him to the ground, I think guys who are really, really good at jiu-jitsu from their back, it seems like that's kind of a lost art in MMA at this point. It started off as that was the most important thing, right? With Hoist Gracie was just submitting guys left and right. Nobody knew what to do with it. And it seems like in recent years, there's not that many guys that are really good bottom players and that are hitting, consistently hitting triangles, arm bars, and sweeps. And I think that's something that Armudi's really, really good at. He's not a guy, you are not safe if you take him down and you're sitting in his guard. Like he's got a very active guard, and he's, you know, he only had 2 amateur fights because nobody wanted to fight him. In his second
I can
amateur fight,
imagine it.
yeah, well, in his second amateur fight was a submission win in the first round, or I think it was actually a technical submission because he put him to sleep. But he submitted Billy Goff, who's now in the UFC. You know,
Oh,
Billy won
damn.
on Contender Series, and you know, it was some years ago, right? I think it was like 3 years ago, and Billy was young, but Billy had a really successful pro career and got his shot on Contender Series. And I think Billy's only, you know, 24, 25, but yeah, he was probably fighting a, you know, clearly a younger version of Billy, but I think Billy came in 4-1 or something like that. So again, still a very tough guy, and you know, like Armuti's a guy that like you can't fuck around in his guard. And he's, you know, at 3-1, it's been tough for him to get fights. I've offered a lot of guys that fight, and you know, he's the more experienced guys look at it like, you know, no, I don't want to fight that guy, because if I beat a guy that's 3-1, it does nothing for me, and he's a
But
lot
if I
tougher.
lose,
Yeah, I look like an idiot if I lose to a guy that's 3-1. If I think I'm a fight or two away from the UFC, that's not the guy I want to fight. Like the risk doesn't outweigh the reward there. So he's been a tough one, and John Piersma, you know, he's 5-1. He just beat Ryan Sanders, who was viewed as, you know, if not the best guy in New England at 170. He was certainly one of the very best guys in New England at 170. And Piersma went up to Maine and beat him in a title fight, you know, a couple months ago, maybe 6-8 weeks ago. And, you know, he beat him 50-45, you know, and he out-grappled him the whole fight. You know, he took him down a lot. And Sanders is another guy with kind of a tricky ground game. And, you know, Piersma was just all over him. You know, he's one of those guys that's, like his jujitsu is very good, but it looks like he's got a strong wrestling base also, or at the very least, a lot of strength that is transitioned well into
jiu-jitsu, and once he gets on top, it's hard to.
Right, and a lot of his submissions are stuff like, you know, Armuti is probably the more traditional jiu-jitsu guy that's
Arm
doing,
bars
you know,
and
yeah, triangles, arm bars, stuff like that. Whereas Piersma is the kind of the
for the
more
guillotines and
he's probably the more power top guy, where, you know, he'll work to pass your guard, and he'll try to, you know, hit you with a head and arm choke, or you know, like something along those lines, right? Or he'll take your back and you know, get a rear naked choke. So it's definitely an interesting style matchup. You know, I mean, someone like, I mean, I don't want to say that he's George St. Pierre, because I'm not, but the way that GSP would always, he kind of prioritized position, and he would take rear naked chokes. He would do kind of those more like strong guy type jujitsu moves versus like, you know, slick submissions.
technical.
Yeah. So I would say, you know, like it's both very, very good jujitsu guys, but both very different styles. And,
Right.
you know, Piersma is very good from the top. Armuti is very good from the bottom. And, you know, we'll see how this one goes. And it's, you know, it'll be interesting to see how the kind of the power game from Piersma does with the slick game of Armuti. And yeah,
Definitely a lot of fun fights coming up.
Yeah, and they're going to punch each other too, right? So we'll see how that goes. Sometimes those fights between two very, very good grapplers, like sometimes the grappling ends up canceling itself out, and it turns into a boxing match, right? So we'll see. But it's, I mean, this is a fight between. I mean, I wish Armuti had, you know, maybe one more fight, and I would have made it for a title. I mean, these are two of the best guys in, you know, in the Northeast. So yeah, that's a monster fight. You know, we'll try to get those guys on, and we've got some other big fights that we haven't announced yet. You know, plus, you know, there's some of the ones that we have and that we talked about last week. You know, we definitely want to line up a bunch of interviews. So yeah, I'm excited. It's a really, really good card, and hopefully, maybe next week or the week after, we'll be able to announce what we're doing with. We've got some fun stuff going on for some of our prelim fights. So
That's what's up. Yeah, then we'll make sure whatever other details that are coming up, maybe right before the event, we'll make sure to link them up in the in the short clips, like the short podcasts on Instagram and or YouTube. So guys, don't forget, the easiest way to support the show is just to whatever the platform you're listening or watching, just hit that follow or subscribe button, and then just comment any questions, or maybe even some of the people that you want to see interviewed here on the show. So Rick, you want to add anything else before we wrap it up?
I am good. I'll see you next week.
This was a fun episode. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.